Ladies and gentlemen, what is this now? I mean, what did I just see with my own eyes? See, just a week into the new year, you may have noticed a stir in the world of chess. On 1st January, chess.com released a collection of cardboards with various ratings. Now, these cardboards have numerous names and characteristics, but one of them, called Mittens or Mittens, is terrorizing the world of chess with its superhuman abilities and displeasing quips, trash talks, unpleasing words. I mean, it is one board that is trending at the time of this recording. So to shame the devil, I thought of testing our new opening repertoire for black called the Rat Defense against Mittens 1 E4. And so to do this, I simply hired Stockfish 15 and paired it against this glorified bot, Mittens. So let's see how Stockfish played the Rat Defense, which I presented in the video that has popped up in the card above. Against Mittens. So Mittens started with E4. Now I have turned on the eval bar so that you can see the evaluation for yourselves, you guys. This was really interesting. I programmed Stockfish to play pawn to D6. Then after D4, instead of G6, Knight F6 or C6, I instructed Stockfish to play Knight D7, which is called the Rat Defense or simply the Enter Defense. You can go to my website kasperchess.com and sign up for my free masterclass. Then you will get my free mini course on this defense, which I recommend for beginners and intermediate level players. Mittens played Knight C3 in this position, and then Stockfish played E5, Knight to F3, then Bishop E7. By the way, if D takes E5, Stockfish was going to take on E5 with his D pawn. That's how we play the Rat Defense, okay? So with Bishop E7, Stockfish is planning to develop the King's Knight on F6 and simply castle short. Another move that I bet Stockfish was going to play was C6. Bishop C4 is what Mittens played. Then here comes Knight GF6 by Stockfish. Castle short, just simple chess. Now watch. If you watched my video on the Rat Defense, which is already in the card above, you should already know what is happening here. Learn from the engines. Mittens here played pawn to A4. Why? It realized that there was an NGO from this side of the board, the king side. NGO, as in nothing going on. Nothing going on. And that's how you're supposed to be playing chess. So if there's nothing going on from one side of the board, switch to the other side of the board in order to confuse the enemy. Start playing from the other side of the board. Pawn to A4. And then Stockfish responded with A5, my instruction. D takes E5, then D takes E5. You can see the plan now. So Queen D3 was played by Mittens. Now, in order to stop Knight D5 or Knight B5, Stockfish played pawn to C6. So this pawn always goes to C6 to control these squares at all times, just like I recommended in my video. Mittens played Bishop G5 for whatever reasons, just developing a minor piece on the most active square. Then Queen C7 by Stockfish. Look, that's the final destination for the queen in the opening stage. Pawn to H3, more like a waiting move. Now wait a second. Stockfish in this position could have played pawn to H6 or probably Bishop B4. But wait, Rook E8 or Rook D8 leaves our F7 pawn very weak. So how do you choose the best continuation from here as a human being? Go for a move which will bring more activity on the board. Knight C5. That's what Stockfish played. Putting the knight on the most active. Look at this. Then Queen D3 is what Mittens played. Knight E6. Attacking the bishop on G5. At best, we always want to trade off our knights with our opponent's bishops. By the way, bishop takes on E6 by white will be a positional mistake, as they will only help us activate our light squared bishop, which is doing nothing on C8. Okay? So don't take. Rook A D1 is what Mittens played, because rooks smile on open files. Then here Stockfish could have played H6 again or knight takes on G5. Those are okay moves, but even better is to develop a piece on a most active square. That's how we plan in the middle game. Bishop C5. So you guys, at this stage of the game, we are no longer playing our opening prep, okay? That's one thing to understand. The opening stage is somehow complete, and now this is just chess. The whole idea of an opening prep, such as the free course that I listed on my website, is just to give you a safe beginning. Anyways, bishop c5 attacking the queen, so Mittens played queen c1. Look at how passive Mittens' pieces are. Knight takes g5 because the bishop was attacking our f6 knight. And after queen takes, not the knight by the way, now white is attacking the e5 pawn with two of his pieces, or two of her pieces. Speaking of Mitten, so Stockfish defended this pawn with rook e8. And please note that this bishop is not really pressurizing our f7 pawn, since this pawn is defended by our queen. That's another reason why we play queen c7, indirectly defending this pawn. So rook d3, maybe Mittens wants to double up his rooks, creating a strong battery along the open file. That's how we play chess. And only then did Stockfish play pawn to h6, ensuring that it does not entertain its enemy's pieces. You don't want to let your enemy's pieces stay in your territory. This is your yard, while this is your enemy's territory, okay? So you don't want to allow your enemy's pieces to sit in your territory for a longer period of time. So queen d2 was played, and from here I would have played bishop e6. It just looks more human to me. I can consider playing this just to keep it simple. You know, just to kiss, K-I-S-S, keep it so simple. But Stockfish knows better. It played queen e7. At human level, I would have also considered knight h5, and later on placing my knight on the juicy f5 square. We talked about this in the last video. Here Mittens just played rook d1. Look at this triple battery here. Bishop e6 is a candidate move for Stockfish, but look at this, bishop f5. That's the major difference between you and Stockfish, because it is able to see, long-term clearance sacrifices that you can't even see. Bishop f5 is such a brilliant move. It's questioned here because Stockfish is still debating, saying bishop b6 was a better move. But anyways, this is what we call a clearance sacrifice, putting more pressure on the e4 pawn. Why? If pawn takes, now the way on e4 has been cleared, hence the name clearance sacrifice. And this is when we saw Stockfish playing the move pawn to e4, forking the knight and the rook. Let me just show you what would have happened if Mitten took on e4. Stockfish was going to take, knight takes e4 by white was going to be a blunder. Now look at this attack on the queen and the pawn on f2. Let's say queen f4. Well, there goes another fork. Rook d7, knight takes d1, open check by the bishop. So this is just how Stockfish plays its chess. Let's see what happened in the actual game. So Mittens did not take on e4 due to that continuation. Instead, rook e1 was played, pinning this pawn to the queen. Now Stockfish knows that it's not supposed to keep a more valuable piece in the line of a pin, so it played queen f8. And now the fork becomes valid once again. Knight g5 was played by Mittens, a sneaky move. On human level, if you play e takes d3, this would be a blunder because of bishop takes f7 first, that's check, and at the same time attacking the rook on e8. And after king h8, bishop takes e8. The knight is still doing its deadly job on g5. So let's say h takes g5, and now the bishop sits on a deadly square, the g6 square. The queen is still eyeing the weak g5 pawn, and in the near future, knight e4 may come, followed by rook e4, and something here will be happening. So that's the reason why Stockfish did not blunder with e takes d3. Instead, h takes g5 was played. The rook is still under attack. So Mittens played rook g3, attacking the pawn twice with the queen, and Stockfish played e3. F takes e3 was played. Then look at this, bishop b6. This is called a prophylactic move. Sometimes you need to take one step backwards in order to take two steps forward, even in life. So bishop b6, just trying to see what white can do here. Maybe queen c5 will come, or queen b4 later on. So white has no time to take the pawn on g5. Mittens played queen f2 here, and queen b4 was played by Stockfish. Queen e2 again, defending the bishop. Then Stockfish just started chopping Mittens' pawns. Rook b1 was played, the knight falls, rook takes b6, and instead of defending the b7 pawn, Stockfish went for rook e4, attacking a bigger fish. Bishop d3, capturing this pawn is better than capturing the b7 pawn, because now you create a possible queen to b, a passer. Rook a1 check was played by Stockfish, and Mittens played king f2. Now watch, the whole idea of chess is to keep everything simple. You lose your games because you like complicating stuffs. Just go a4, go and promote the pawn. h4 was played. If you go a3, they'll take on g5 and cause some problems here. So Stockfish simply took on h4, attacking the rook, and after rook h3, that's a sheer waste of time. Now pawn to a3. Rook takes h4, there is no mate which is coming here. This queen cannot come to h5 because our knight is doing a great job of covering this square. Now look at the move that Stockfish played here, which is hard to see. Somehow, rook e1. Simply sacrificing the rook in an effort to promote into a bazooka. If Stockfish likes, let me just show you what was going to happen. If queen takes e1, a blunder, Stockfish was going to play queen takes e1 check, and after king takes, the pawn was simply going to promote into a queen. I mean, white cannot stop this from promoting because the pawn would take on b1. But let's see what happened in the game. After rook e1 by Stockfish, Mittens did not take the rook. It played an in-between move, rook b8 check. Anyways, Stockfish took. Then after queen takes check, king takes e1. Stockfish simply played rook b1 first, even though a2 was still possible. King f2 and then pawn to a2. The idea is that after rook f4, the pawn promotes. Rook takes, and now it is officially an endgame. Let me run you through the moves very fast. At human level, white is supposed to resign here, but boss don't resign. Anyways, king e2. Now from here, it is the game of squares. Let me give you a hint. When you reach the end game, the key is to simplify the game, okay? Since white has a light squared bishop, simply put all your pawns on dark squares. That's at human level. And start moving your king in dark squares. That's where all your pieces are going to be moving, okay? Your king must become an active piece in the end game. That's how we play. And given a chance, find a way to exchange your knight for this bishop, because once white loses his bishop, then it will become very easy for us to win the end game. So now these are engines. That's not what happened. Stockfish played knight d7, trying to win as many squares as possible. King d2, pawn to f6, putting the pawns on dark squares. King e2, now the king must become an active piece. Whoops, the bishop is attacking the pawn. We better not lose it. Knight e5. This is a beautiful outpost for the knight, also defending the pawn. Bishop d3. If it was me here, I would have taken the bishop to oversimplify the game. That's what you do at human level. You take this piece and convert this into an easy end game. Chop off all the pawns using your rook. But anyways, Stockfish played king e7, bishop e4, rook a2, just in case the bishop leaves. King d2, king d6, king e2, rook a3, just limiting white's moves, okay? Bishop f3, I would have still taken here. Anyways, knight c4, intending to take on e3, but pawn to e4, king c5, king e5 was also possible. Bishop h5, well, king d4, attacking the pawn. Pawn to e5, anything is playable at this point. But knight takes e5 was played. All that Stockfish is doing is limiting its opponent's moves. King e1 and then king e3. You see, just limiting its opponent's moves. So from here, it's just a game of squares. Bishop e2, then we see rook a1. This is going to be a mate in 6. Bishop d1 covering the check, then rook c1, a prophylactic move. G4, knight f3 check, a mate in 4 is coming here. King f1, a forced move, then rook takes d1, and the game ended on move number 59. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You can clearly see how Stockfish played our beautiful defense, the rat defense, without any complications. There was no theory here. And the funny thing is that Mittens didn't even make any blunder, but it just found itself in a bad position. Try this defense. Go to my website, grab that free course, and see what you can do with it. If at all you enjoyed my video, please consider subscribing to my channel so that I can be encouraged to continue making these wonderful videos just